Rocks 2017.
All right, we're gonna roll. You guys ready?
Yes.
Wake up. We're gonna get up to 30 jump jacks. All right, so spinal stability is probably a confusing term. The main idea is you're coming to the chiropractor, we have these restrictions in the spine, things aren't moving right, there's muscular imbalance. And we correct those, and what happens sometimes chronically is things come back, right? You're a little older, that kind of gets less and less time, right? Like what's happening here? There's this other area not being addressed, and that's weakness, and that's easy to say. We're like, well, how do we address that weakness? How do we get stronger? Just today was a great example because I had a guy come in, he had 2 different forms of exercise from 2 different physical therapists. He's like, I don't know, they're saying different things. It's all confusing, lots of different exercises. A lot of us, I see you guys in the gym sometimes, we're trying really hard, trying to get stronger. The problem is we need to work a little smarter, a little less hard is the issue here. The spine is delicate. Overall, our spine has a lot of motion, there's lots of joints. We just kind of abuse that too much. We're bending, kind of bend from the spine, not so much from our hips. So the 2 points we're going to make here, I think those are written down, is we're going to learn to restrict bending of the spine, resist gravity, but also teach us how to hinge at the hips. And those two are really interconnected. The more we hinge at our hips, the better our spine is going to get strong. Most of us kind of round at the back. Because it's easier to do that. It's easier to lift something. We're stronger when we're compressed.
Turn sideways. Let me see what you're doing.
Rounding bad,
Okay.
hinging good. That's it, you can go home. So there's a longer talk if you follow the YouTube here. It's called The Foundation of Health. I don't know if I wrote that on there, but Foundation of Health is the big, long hour one. Here, normally the video is pretty short, small, because I know you'll lose track. But if you want to get into detail, how this chronic stuff appears, how arthritis appears, I go in deep into that. I'm not going to bore you with that today. Let's try to stand up today. We're going to work on first resisting gravity and what that means really. We all have this different ideas. I normally say teach you, but you kind of have to teach yourself this stuff, unfortunately. It's you feeling it that's most important. So I can go over it, it can even look good to me, but until you learn to feel what it's like and teach yourself. And that's why practice comes in. That's why we're doing the 7 a.m. classes, just repetition, repetition. So what we're teaching and why we do this stance is to help breathing. Because when we're here, we can't breathe well from our diaphragm. And that kind of rounds us in the middle back, and my head's here, my hips are forward, my weight's in my SI joints. So a lot of problems come from just being here. We think we're standing straight. And a lot of us are pretty good at this motion, right? That's half the problem. But a lot of times we're pushing our hips forward to achieve that. And that's the foundation, that's what I call the foundation of health. Your hips, your pelvis, your feet, all that foundation. That's that strong bottom structure that supports the top. And in my talk, I talk about the roof of health, how it protects you. And we have these different pillars like nutrition and chiropractic to help support the roof, keep us strong. But if that foundation's a little crumbly, a little weak, we run into problems. The reason that is because the spinal cord is most important. And you guys come to chiropractor for a while, so you understand when you get adjusted, how powerful that can be for the neurological system. When you're removing stress, and your organs can work better. Same goes with this. We're learning to decompress. We're opening up all those joints. So the potential is to remove nerve stress too. Because when we're rounded, our head's back, we're compressed, that's neurological compression or strain too, as well as misaligned vertebrae. And you notice getting adjusted, you're going to have that stance better. It's easier. You're not having so many restrictions. The first thing I want to feel is see if you can feel any tension here when you just stand up straight. Push your hips back, your weight into your heel, and see if you can feel any tension kind of right here on the opposite end of the diaphragm. You might not feel that right away. You'll get better at it because the more you get your strength in your spine, most of us, when we do that, we kind of tend to do this motion. Nobody's saying push my head back. That's actually taking that area and compressing it. So we're trying to do the opposite. We're engaging that diaphragm. So try to take a breath there when you got that pushed in right here. What you should feel is it's a little tough to do. A couple breaths right there. Now the stance I usually do is pinkies right here on my pelvis. There's these 2 little bones, your thumbs on your ribs, and you're trying to open up that area. Lengthen that space. You feel that? So instead of here where we're leaning back and the belly sticks out, it's bad, we're pressing that in. That's going to help our breathing. If we're breathing right, suck the gut if you want. But we don't want to be there. We're not going into the old man posture. Because a lot of times that happens with the leaning back. It puts all that pressure here. Later in life, we have to switch. Get the pressure off. So we go from this kind of hamstring dominant position to a suddenly very hip flexor dominant position. And a lot of physical therapists, that's what they'll teach you is, okay, you're in this position, we got to correct it by going this way, but really the only thing is to strengthen the spine by going straight up. That makes sense. Resisting gravity. You know, these muscles, the multifidus muscles, that are designed to open up those disc space, open up those little nerve root spaces, and hold our head up. And then you'll notice the shoulders and the hips. You know, maybe you say, like, I don't care about my spine. Hey, it doesn't hurt. I got feet pain. You know, you'll notice that your arches will grab more. All these little things happen once our spine is right. Shoulders will work better. Rotator cuff will work better. So for rounded, shoulders are forward. A lot of people can see that. We miss a lot of the hip stuff. And that's why I start there, because it's just missed more than the shoulders. We're doing shoulder class tomorrow at the park, so we can work out some of that strengthening there. But it all comes back to getting that central structure right, the spine. Make sense?
Yes.
Wrote notes actually, so rhyme myself. So a lot of people think I've been doing posture for a long time. It's been about 2 years, and everyone thinks like, you know, my dad was a great posture guy. No, it's like because I was in so much pain, the chiropractic stopped helping me then to start figuring out what was going wrong and figuring out where. Because biomechanics and how we move just isn't really taught well in school today, especially chiropractors have the edge on it more than most people because we understand the spine, understand how it breaks down. You can see, we get our hands on people every day. But most of the people, they see tunnel vision. They're like, oh, they got this joint problem, so we could just do exercise for this joint. We don't think about getting that spine strong. So most of the time people come back doing an exercise, they got that bad compressed posture, especially in the gym, you see that. Get that weight down, they have to round to do it, or they have to throw their weight back, lift the weight over the head. All these little things break down the spine over time. It's like a car wreck happening 10, 15 years, you know, slow micro-trauma, trauma over time. That's that chronic condition. They always say, like, I didn't do anything, I just twisted and I blew a disc. That shouldn't happen. That shows there's severe instability somewhere. Something's wrong. It's been wrong for a while. You know, 'cause we're decently strong. We say that we're older, but it's that we've given an injury in an imbalanced time more than we're old. It's usually just one hip over the other. We're both the same age. Just one has received more abuse than the other, and generally what I see is the spine is getting abused. We need to stop the spinal abuse, spousal abuse. I kind of relate everything back to, you know, like a good parent, you know, he doesn't always give the child what he wants. And that's kind of how we treat our bodies. We get these symptoms, and we're like, oh, we just got to treat the symptom. But a lot of times we got to fix the cause, and that's making that central structure strong again. You know, if we're always just getting adjusted 3 times a week and not getting better, there's something we're missing, right? That's fine when we're first getting corrected, you know, every bad injury, but if this is something chronic, it's just keeps reappearing over the years, we're missing an element there. And we're just chasing the symptoms, it's not going to work. That's why we're going back to strengthening that spine. And then we can handle things like sleeping in bed. You know, you shouldn't wake up and be like, oh my gosh, someone beat me with a baseball bat while I was sleeping. It shows that you're so unstable that there's a strong muscle that's just pulling all those joints out. A lot of times you see that, and you walk out the door and it's like, oh, you must have missed that spot, or we got it in and it came out that fast because the muscles have become so dominant and they're controlling the situation now. So if we strengthen the spine, hips, shoulders, going to work better, right? What we'll teach in class is generally the shoulders are turning in and the hips are turning out, external rotation. So when we engage those, that all helps with that lifting stance. So let's try that again. Think about turning our hips in. Try that, add that little element. Think while you're doing that, grabbing the ground. These are all little pieces we'll add over time. You're like, Nate, that's so much, but you'll get better. If you feel like you're getting taller, it's good. You're at least on the right track. It's better than doing that. You see the difference there? And you see how that pushes that diaphragm forward? Because now we're doing chest breathing. Most of us are locked in what we call the sympathetic state anyways. It's the stress mode, you know, fight or the flight, rapid breathing, the heart rate's faster, and then what goes out the window? Digestion, you know, immune system, because your body's in the moment, it's fighting the tiger. So when we breathe deeply, like in yoga, we calm down, that's why they do it. That pushes us into parasympathetic state. And that's, you know, focused on digestion and relaxing instead of chronically being tight all the time. We're always addressing the tight stuff. You know, we're always blaming the guy. You know, so like if we're doing bicep curls all the time, what we generally do is like, oh, yeah, your biceps are tight, we got to stretch it out. Like, wait, what about What about the other guy, the tricep? Why don't we strengthen that, bring balance? Because yeah, we overuse our traps and they're tight and they're pulling our head back. But what about those other muscles that tuck us in and lengthen? Why aren't we addressing those? Why aren't we strengthening those? And we'll see it. Triceps is a good example, which a lot of people do. That's where the extra skin is. That's where the extra skin is. A lot of people are like, yeah, get rid of the double chin. You're lengthening. You're using it more, so it's going to be more toned up. Another thing to watch out when you're doing this is sometimes things feel tight. Like hip flexor can feel tight. Be careful about like stretching all the time, because sometimes it's taut, it's lengthened, and it's irritating. It feels like it needs to be stretched. It actually needs to be strengthened. Sometimes strengthening is better. And what we're showing here with this exercise is actually a functional stretch. So there's equal strengthening to stretching. It's isometric. Like if I'm pushing against my hands are pushing back equally. I'm getting a good stretch in the back while I'm using the other muscle. We're not compressing, we're not doing like this. It's that lengthening. And you'll notice that these things are hard to do the more your stance is opened up and decompressed. Now we're going to add the hinge element to this. So we got that first picture. I'm decompressing, my weight shifting into my heels. I'm able to breathe. Usually I'll get that tension and I hold that. So we're not just, most people see this picture and they're like, okay, I'm going to do that. Hunch. So it's progression to the position. Decompressing, lifting my hands up, which is hard. It's hard to do that. If I'm lazy, it's like, what are you talking about? It's not hard. But as soon as we decompress, that becomes difficult. And then as I raise my arms, hinging from the hip. Now, third world cultures, they do this much better. They do a lot more flat-footed squats and everything that's all hip hinging. So they're a little bit better than us. We tend to hit a brick wall. Well, those hips aren't moving, these guys. Not hips here, not hips there. That's your sacroiliac joint. These tend to move too much because this isn't moving as it should be. So when we're walking, if that's jammed up, it's turned out, that motion comes from somewhere. And the spine likes to help out. It's a good helper, keeps quiet, likes to help, but decades later, degeneration there, arthritis, you take an x-ray, oh, I never had pain there. I got pain in my knee. Why is that? Hip. Robbing from Peter to pay Paul. So when we lengthen, we suddenly lock this area down. That's the idea behind that trochanter belt too, is it holds that sacroiliac joint in place. Kind of forces you to use that hip joint a little bit more. But this exercise kind of connects your brain to those weaker muscles. That hip flexion. You notice the two I marked out there. Which are really tiny, neck flexor, hip flexor. They're both flexors, right? So when we engage those, you notice the neck automatically connects. So sometimes a neck issue could be coming from pelvis or pelvic issue, hips not working, or a foot issue, feet not working. Generally, the feet are the other part of the foundation that we just don't use. We're in shoes all the time. We're just kind of flat foot, grabbing all the time, smacking off the ground. When that arch is supposed to work, grab, become strong like your hands. Imagine if you didn't do this at all during the day. What would happen to your hand? You're like, pick up a jar and you'll be able to do it. So it's that strength in our feet is just important to mirror our hands. If we wore like really tight gloves all the time, you restricted that motion, you get atrophy in your hands, you wouldn't be able to write, you wouldn't be able to open a jar anymore.
So are you saying go barefoot to make your
The problem is with that, and they have shoes like that. Sometimes you see me in my little toe shoes at the office.
Yeah.
Wear those. We have to change the way we're walking too. And that's what the stance is all about. It's teaching you there. Because if you're just taking those barefoot shoes and you're just walking like you used to, using them like a club foot almost that's not grabbing, you're gonna bruise your heel because there's no cushion in your shoe. Which leads to another problem. It's a good point, because when we're grabbing and we're kind of slowing that stride down when we walk, we're using the hip flexor to do that. So that's why it atrophies naturally in our culture, and the hamstrings get dominant. It tucks us in, and that's just compressed. You can see how the whole spine kind of follows those hips. So when we bring our weight to our heels, not only do our arches work more, but our spine. So it all comes back together, it all works together. And if we teach ourselves to hinge from the hips more than slouch around to the spine, or fishes in the knee. I see people in the gym all the time, they're doing the forward lunges. They're good at this. Telling anyone to do a reverse lunge, they're like, what? Backwards? That's so hard. but we just don't do it enough because we like to do things that we're better at, we're good at. So a lot of this stuff, you're like, this is awkward, it's hard, but it's worth learning because you're just using muscles you're just not used to using. You probably haven't used for a long time. Like guitarists, they'll have big, thick nerves because they're playing all the time. Those go to the muscles. So same thing when these muscles aren't working. The nerves aren't firing well. So it takes some time to rebuild that connection, that brain to body connection. That's why these exercises are good because unlike yoga, where you're not going to be doing yoga moves in your daily life, you know, it's like putting cups in their cabinets, like with a warrior one pose. You can actually do some of this stuff. You know, picking up an object, you're hinging down instead of rounding the spine to do it, you can throw it in. You know, I try to be good during the day when I'm changing paper, you know, hinging to get that paper instead of, you know, for years I just worked over people and getting this rounded posture. And that was good because like I'm bending at the knees, right? That's what you want to do. But I started looking at like my head's an extension, my ass is round, and my lumbar curve is flat, and my pelvis is done. You know, and then like just that tiny change, it's little, but now I'm becoming shaking. Shaking when working on people, when you start shaking, you're using something you're not used to. And that's going to make a change in the joint because they're connected. So we have balance in the muscles, and we have stress moving down the joints. The nerves are going to be better. So it's not about, oh, I look good now, I'm more upright. It's about taking stress off your nervous system. That's most important because you can prevent a lot of stuff. You're talking about like heart attacks today. It's like, what's the first symptom of a heart issue? A heart attack. You know that same stress that you get in your hands can actually be from your heart. So you want to do that because our organs aren't going to yell at us as much as our joints will. So these are warnings. We got to listen to our body. You know, not just think that it's, you know, hates us. It's always attacking us. It's actually saying, hey, there's something wrong here. You need to go to your chiropractor. You need to strengthen this area. There's something going on. It's, you know, there's inflammation, swelling to that thing that supports those nerves and protects it. There could be a neurological thing as well. So we have to always think about that. This symptom could be there for a reason. If it's reoccurring, there's something going on. A lot of times it is something biomechanical. It's how we're moving throughout the day. I'm not saying go to the gym, you know, 5 times a week. Just learn some of this stuff and then integrate it into what you're already doing. You know, your daily walk instead of walking up here. A lot of people are like, oh, I walk all the time. I go 10 miles a day. I'm like, how are you walking? How are you traversing that? Are you, maybe give me 10 minutes, you know, engaged with your walking, where your feet are grabbing. You know, oh my gosh, this is exhausting. I can't do that. I'm like, that's exactly what you should do. You do less. I'm saving you time. You don't have to spend 3 hours walking 10 miles, beating up your joints. Where's the logic in that? And that's just how we kind of think. It's like, oh, we got to push harder, we got to do faster, we got to do more reps, we got to do more weight. Just reel it back in. Think about strengthening the spine first, and then you can maybe handle if you want to do other stuff like yoga or Pilates, or you want to lift heavier weight. Your spine will be strong enough that it can handle it again when you're younger. So the problem, we just beat up our spine so much, we get so distorted in our curvatures. That little thing just throw us out really easy. And that's the problem. That's the chronic condition that reoccurs. Am I making sense so far? Working way through the notes, we're almost done. It's pretty simple. So yeah, feet are important. Talked about stress, right? How neurologically this posture, sympathetic state, affects the breathing. We're getting here, we're engaged, we're breathing better. And I know me, I'm big, I'm really bad at breathing. Even when I do my exercises, it's something I always got to remember to do because I'm so trained to breathe from here. When we breathe from the chest, around the shoulders, pulls on our head. You know, as we get older, what we see a lot of neurological stuff, Parkinson's, you know, could it be related to chronic swelling and pressure on that brainstem, that cerebellum for years? Who knows? Maybe I wouldn't like to find out. Cool. And in the other classes, we talked a lot about different tools like foam rolling and these cervical wedges that maybe some used, and like the trochanter belt. You have a lot of videos on those. The reason I don't want to talk about them too much today is because it's just a lot. It's too much information. You're already like, oh, posture. But those are all things that are going to help remove the restriction. Just like chiropractic, we're working on loosening up those tight muscles. But the biggest thing is what we're talking about right now is that strengthening and retraining you to move a little bit better. And every little bit counts. Like Even if you're just sitting slouching, just moving, engaging those hip flexors when you're sitting, just a little bit every day. It's like when you say stand up every half an hour, it's a big change. It's a lot. That makes sense. So let's try this exercise one time, and we'll let you get out of here. This one's called the Founder. Dr. Eric Goodman, chiropractor, developed foundation training. It's all about the pelvis. And his story was he was a chiropractor in college who, when he injured L4L5, he didn't do anything bad to it, just like everyone, chronic condition, even though he was a young guy, just a lot of body building, and he had bad disc herniations, and they told him he needed surgery in chiropractic school. He's like, no, you can't do that. Get the surgery in a chiropractor. So he wanted to help people. You overcome these conditions. How can you help people if he's getting surgery for something that he's supposed to be preventing? So he trained himself to strengthen the area around the injury. That's what it's all about. Usually we think the injury is something that's tight. A lot of times if you get a sprain in a joint, it's because there's too much motion. You should almost think backwards on that. Sometimes the one joint that hurts, people get annoyed. She's like, hey, why are you working over there on the left? It hurts on the right. That's the area that's tight, so I'm getting the other side moving. Don't move torsion on the right. So the last time you want me to do is pushing into the sprained joint. Or it's like taking a sprained ankle, twisting around like, what's the problem? You're like, stop, what are you doing? It's injured. Same thing with our spine, we have injuries there. So the best thing we can do is strengthen, bring balance, so that joint isn't getting strained over time. It's this little tear. It's like stretching a rubber band over time. Snap, loosens up. You go, rounding a paper clip, same idea. Eventually it's gonna give, and then it's gotta heal. I think we're good for a while. We don't make the lifetime change. We do the exercises, feel a little bit better. Kind of go back to this handling thing we're doing. All of a sudden, bam, and that happens over and over again. And then the time in between gets shorter and shorter and shorter. Like, it's getting older. It's our genetics, and yeah, posture stuff is genetic, but we can still help that. Like someone with scoliosis. The more they're rounded, the one way gravity is really going to press them. So the best thing you want to do is resist that. And they may not ever get straight all the way, but at least they're training those muscles to hold themselves there instead of letting gravity just take us over. Oh, there's nothing I can do about it. Chiropractic, strengthen the spine. You can't help it. You can fix the stability. Might never be perfect, and I'd probably never be perfect either, but heck of a lot better from limping around for 3 hours every morning because my feet were so bad. And I had plantar fasciitis, and my right one had surgery, so I'd be swollen all the time. I just thought, that's life. I had bad injuries, and my back was getting worse. I'm like, oh, man, I'll be in a wheelchair. By now I'm 40, and I won't be able to be chiropractic anymore. And just strengthening my spine, changed the way I walked. You better believe I tried every foot exercise known to man. Yeah, it would help for a little bit, but it would just keep coming back. So I changed the way I was moving. I was just approaching things on the day-to-day. That's what made the big difference. Let's try this Founder. Foundation training, I don't know if I put that website on there, but you can check him out. He's got some free stuff, but mainly you gotta pay for his program. But if you check out our channel, it's free. So we're talking about a lot of the same stuff, but he is a chiropractor, so he has that same kind of ideology we do about the spine and its central importance for the nervous system. All right, I'll shut up. Let's go back to this exercise. Engaging, lifting. Remember, we're shifting our weight into our heels, so our feet grab. And there's a bunch of different little elements. I try not to add too much, but try a little inner thigh squeeze with this too. That always helps me length. Because generally inner thigh is pretty weak as those hips turn out. So we're turning them in, chest broadens. You should feel tension in the spine. That might take some time to get because, like I said, you got to strengthen these muscles enough where you're able to decompress. It's not just going to happen right away. So the more you press up, the stronger you'll get. Even though you feel like you're not pressing up against anything, it's like mom put a book on your head. If you lean back, it'll fall off. So you got to stack your weight underneath it to lift right up. And that always helped me, that idea, lifting up. Then bringing the hands up. It should feel hard to do that. When I'm doing this with my fingers is it opens up the wrist joint. Working on people that have sprained wrists until I started doing this. It actually opens the joints in your hands. Same idea as your spine, we're opening everything up. Then I'm adding that hip hinge as I'm bringing the shoulders up. So equal distance, hips are driving back, all that tension in my spine. What you'll notice is you start shaking the better you do this. If you watch me, I just start tremoring. Even though I've been doing this for a long time, and Dr. Goodman will say the same thing, the more you do this, the harder it becomes.
Why is that? Could you
the stronger you make your spine, the more you're able to open up all those joints.
So why is it hard?
So I'm taking, I have this one table at my old office where it would slide sometimes because the latch wasn't great. And I would push on it and it wouldn't move. But patients would lay on it and it would move. So it got me thinking, like, I'm a big guy. I'm probably putting like close to 200 pounds of pressure in here. And if a patient with a rounded spine, you put more pressure on that table than I'm physically able to do, that's what you're lifting right now. You're lifting some 100 pounds to 200 pounds of pressure off your spine. That's just chronically there. You're dragging around. You're carrying some dude on your back all day long. No wonder we're tired of our culture. That fatigue is draining our nervous system. So that's what you're lifting up against. That's why it's harder. You're getting stronger at doing that, taking that pressure off. Because we do bad things all the time. I'm not perfect, so a lot of those restrictions are still there. I'm just getting better at resisting them. It's a process. So that's why it's
like
hard.
the muscles are getting better and better at doing that.
Yeah.
So then they take on more and more of it. Yeah.
So it makes it hard.
It makes it harder.
It just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't, it's the opposite, yeah. It's like,
Because it's like
lifting
lifting
weight,
weights.
it's,
Yeah,
I'm
you
now
do
good at
20,
this.
okay, that was hard, but then you get better, and now, okay, now you do 30.
And the reason is we're doing the shoulders and the hips are the only thing that moves. You'll notice in this stance, the spine is not moving at all. Shoulders are moving, hips are moving. And what you'll notice is the more you are decompressed in your spine, the harder it is to raise your arms. Like I said, if I'm slouched, nothing.
Yeah, I can't.
If I'm engaged, suddenly it's like I got weights in my hand and I'm trying to lift those up. And then you're just adding to that with the hips and it's, oh my gosh. So you're just training that spine not to move. And it's okay if it bends sometimes. It's just we've abused it and we have to bring it back before we can allow some of that bending. I'm out of breath, I'm sweating, just been doing a couple reps of that. So you get a lot of done in a single amount of time. And right now you're doing it as best as you can. Everyone's like that. You will get better at it the more you try to do it. And then when you add it into your day, that's when you'll really get good at it. And you'll start to notice the restrictions I'm talking about. We do different stances in class where we put more pressure on one hip over the other, comparing side to side, like because I know my right's a little weaker. I feel like, oh, there's that pressure there. And then I know dominant, like, oh, I'm going down with my left leg because it's what my body wants to do. So I'll catch myself like, nope, we're going right. Little things like that. Like when you cross your legs. Why? Muscles are patterned that way. It's easier. Then you cross the other one. It's like, oh, well, go. Why? Pattern and twisted that way. Those are what I call unilateral imbalances. It's one-sided issue. Where the spine is usually it's a bilateral. Lengthening up. That distorted curve, it's both-sided. Once we correct that, we could focus on the one-sided things a little bit better. A lot of times we see shoulder imbalances, and let's focus on the shoulders first, where the shoulders attach. Right, the spine, the ribs, it's all coming back to that central location. It's hard to fix a rotator cuff issue, we're not fixing everything it attaches to. That makes sense? All right. Want to try to stance one more time? We'll come around and poke you.
Oh.
See how you're doing? Just try the decompression for now. We'll see where you're at. Feel the weight shifting the heels. You can try to move your stance a little bit. Generally what I'll do is, remember our hips like to turn out? You want to talk about this? Face them forward. Straight. Got a little bit of turn in.
I've heard people say, think of pulling, like someone pulling strings on the top of your head. Would that apply to this as well?
Yeah, you are. Not a head, up it. So you're engaging those hips, the chest is broadening. You're looking in the mirror, the line in your pants should straighten that a little bit. Like, so a little bit of rounding there. As you come back, that actually allows you to engage a little bit better. But getting those hip flexors engaged as well as the neck to help your upper body. These were focused so much on the center, getting that neck back. So lean it back to do that. You feel like the weight's in your hips?
Yes, I can feel it.
Tighten here, where this area is kind of open that, and the neck. Generally, we tend to lean back a little bit in our neck more than we think. And I'll notice that in pretty much all my pictures, even here, so my head is slightly tilted back. And I'm always watching myself, I'm like, yeah, I gotta work on that. process. Because we just don't get people straight.
Mhm.
Just be laying on the table, their hips are over here, like, now straighten them out, like, what'd you do? Now I'm crooked.
Yeah, yeah.
You just don't realize, neurologically, we're off. Yeah, you're leaning back with it, so we're getting those right there, that subtle change, opening this up. Think about driving this area straight up. Right where that diaphragm is, I have to adjust this area, probably, pretty much everyone. Always jammed up, and that's the breathing area. You know, when you breathe, that your spine kind of opens up. It should, anyways. Most of us breathe here. We don't. We get the neck maybe, but not. When you get that diaphragm in, you feel it all the way in your tailbone. Your tailbone actually flexes a little bit.
That's where I'm feeling it when I'm standing here. I can really feel it.
And that goes into my cerebrospinal fluid, which is that fluid that it goes up and down our spinal cord, protects it. It's a shock absorber, but also brings nutrients to the nerves. Cases our brain too, so concussion will help you. And there's a pumping mechanism when we're walking that kind of gets thrown out with this posture. Over here, we get a better pumping of that fluid. When things are stagnant, they're not working better. They're prone to infection. When we get things moving, we're bringing nutrients, we're bringing health and life too. And it's all coming out. Now you can bring this all over the place with posture. It connects to a lot of different areas. And the big thing is you do with flat foot squats, digestion. There's a lot of connections there. I won't get into it, it's gross, but I lost 30 pounds, just changed the way I moved. Even though I was an active guy and I ran a lot and I ate really good, I had this extra weight that I couldn't get rid of. As soon as I changed how my body was moving and moving the stress off the nerves, gut started working better. And there's a muscular component to that too as well. Just a few examples of why this stuff's so important. And there's probably countless stuff that could be prevented just by removing stress, same as with chiropractic. First chiropractic patient, there was a hearing issue. It wasn't even a neck pain issue. You know, adjusted, he was able to hear again. You know, he was deaf for almost 10 or so years. Yeah. That's how it all got started. He was a magnetic healer, and he noticed the lump. It wasn't even by the ears. You know, it was just down by the shoulder. So we get that hump, right? So help fix that. Got it moving again. And now all we're doing is adding this element because back in that day, they moved a little bit better. Now we're sitting a lot. When we sit, hamstrings are getting tighter. Shoes, we're not using the hip flexor as much. Feet are weak, arches are weak, collapsed. Spine starts to fail right along the neck, the foundation's broken. So just adding some things to help counterbalance what's already going on. This chiropractic definitely is more effective back in the day. It's starting to lose it a little bit because the biomechanics are so off. So working together, get out of that chronic pain, help me, and I'm sure it'll help you guys. Any questions you got? Hang around for a few minutes. That's all I got. I'm done rambling.
Cool. Good and concise. Good job.
So I don't know your name.
I'm Dr. Klein.
Oh, you're not. Okay. I thought the Klein was the lady.
Oh, Dr. Shayla?
Shayla. Okay.
It's so.
I'm sorry. I didn't.
We don't say her last name because we can't pronounce it.
It's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm doing posture in the park at Lincoln Park at 7 a.m. for this month, and we're going to change it up because it's going to get colder in the mornings. Right now it's weird. And do I do it in the midday? Like, sweating.
Very nice. Yeah.
I know it's early, but
So what will you teach on tomorrow? Same thing?
Thursday we're doing more shoulder stuff. We're going to get active with it. We're going to throw some different stuff at you. And a lot of this, like I was telling this guy today, I was asking all these exercises. It's not really bad exercises, it's just how we're doing them. And there are bad exercises, but usually it's just how we're approaching, how we're doing it. It's just retraining, giving that edge, just restricting that bending at the spine, learning to use those hips a little bit better and make a big difference.
So you had a major problem and you fixed yourself.
That's right.
That's
Took some time. It's going to be a lot shorter for you guys. This wasn't like, because I remember I had plantar fasciitis for almost a year and a half in school. And I was telling the story to somebody the other day, and it just sounded like, yeah, the next day I figured it out. No, it's like, I would do all these foot exercises. And I remember the guy who wasn't even a chiropractor. He's like, you're walking on your toes all the time. Why don't you try heel striking? I was like, oh, okay. Put my weight in my heels. And then I just built on that idea. It's like how we're always moving. In chiropractic, we're always sitting a lot anyways. Your hamstrings are already dominant. And then it's just going to throw off the way of walking naturally. So you have to really fight and be conscious about things at the start, but then it'll become more natural. It's annoying at the start, for sure.
So
And it
how
must be-
often do you recommend doing this? Like,
At the start, you want to get involved with 2 classes a week, I'd say, and they're short, they're like half an hour. Just because, like I said, we're getting a lot done in a short amount of time. And you're not going to pick up everything right away, but then you can add that stuff in your day-to-day, and you don't need to do a ton. You'll see me all the time. I'm trying. If I got a second, I'll throw it in there. You know, my hips are pretty bad now. I'm still correcting a lot of issues for years. Used, thankful to God because that I got bad so quickly because I wouldn't figure this out. I would have let it go. It's like this idea of like the light bulb slowly dimming. Mine dimmed really fast, where I'm like, just like 5 years ago, so good. What happened? And if I had let myself go more, I'd been like, it's just age. It's like, I knew there was something wrong. I knew it could be fixed. I had injuries, but like, why was it progressing so fast? There was something I was doing that wasn't right.
good testimony.
Amen.
Good. That's really good.
You said there's more on the.
Yeah, we're all
YouTube
doing
channel?
videos, and Foundation of Health is
Where is that on here?
right at the top. It says visit our channel, Rimrock Wellness Center on YouTube.
Okay.
And we'll be posting stuff on Facebook. You can only get on there. Internet's a scary place. And the longer talk that kind of mirrors this one is called the Foundation of Health, but I have lots of pictures in there too that might help you more than I could do with my own body. It's tough. A lot of, describing arthritis, how that develops, where the stress comes from, just going over where the breakdown is, what happens, how do we get this way, how do we fix it.
Good. Great, well, thank you.
There's videos on foam rolling, the wobble chair, Dr. Daniel Hayden.
Is there a specific way to sit on those round
What-
chairs or seats?
And what he'll say, he's got a video on there, is when you're first on there, it's more for disc motion. And what I'll notice is some discs, some parts of the lumbar spine are very restricted, others too much motion. So I almost like the idea of starting with this first, but it's okay to sit on because we generally will go off to one side, where you can't really do that in the ball because you'll fall off the chair. So it's forcing you to be a little more central. That's good. And then you'll notice I put my legs out like that. So that's stretching those hamstrings, almost like I'm driving, and then I'm engaging the hip flexors. Same with that stance, you're using those hip flexors, the chest is broadened, and it's just a better way to sit. It doesn't work in my knee saw because I hit my head. So
you think driving with that seat?
I wouldn't sit, you're not gonna fit in that seat unless you got like a tall truck. But it's just for at work. Same idea as like a yoga ball, but I like the wobble chair a little bit better because you can get a little more motion out of it. You can do some circles.
Okay.
And it's okay to round with that, unless it bothers you. Sometimes we just need to strengthen first, because a lot of people think like, it's a mobilization issue. We need more mobilization in our spine. A lot of times the spine is already generating too much motion. The last thing we want to be doing is lots of this, that belly work. Work on strengthening first, and then as you get better, you can try to find those restrictions to fight against, just to be safe. I mean, if you're not too bad, you're probably safe with it. It's definitely, no matter what, good sitting on it, just like I said, because you're not going to put as much pressure on one side over the other. It's like chronically crossing a leg. Your body will just do that naturally. And I used to do that for lazy work, where I take a picture with her sitting, they'd be off to one side. They didn't know it, like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sitting up straight.
Yeah. I can totally see it.
I still have this.
Light bulb just went off.
Yeah, I still have the same one about 15 years ago. So I mean, it lasts a while too. It's nice because you don't have to.
Yeah.
It's not a bunch of changing equipment. Like you try to get a ball and bring it into your office. Your boss needs it. You don't have it. You just put it on your chair and
Yeah.
it turns it into one of the fitness things. So.
Yeah.
Yoga ball's good, but it's like you fall off it.
And what was that hip thing you were talking about? What's
Yeah,
that?
the trochanter belt is, like I said, we got too much motion here a lot of times. And sometimes you'll ask your chiropractor that. We'll let you know. It's usually like, oh, that's a lot of information. Usually you'll know too, because you feel back there, it feels like a swollen, a bruised apple.
Tender?
Yeah, sometimes there's just a little sprain there, because we're walking too much, kind of wobble from our butt when we walk. So when we engage our hip flexors a little bit more, we naturally will lock that area down. And there's other exercises for like glute medius to strengthen that area. A lot of times that belt will just hold that, for just we're too locked into this position, it's gonna help hold those joints down so we can think about the joint we should be moving, which is more the hip joint function.
So
That's the
it's
idea
the
behind
belt that
that.
holds it together.
Yeah.
Okay,
There's a video on that,
okay.
and you could ask us to, we'll run you through it, or else won't just hand you a belt and be like, good luck.
See ya.
And you might not need it, it's a good example. And I'll even use it, you know, because it makes me work a little harder. Getting behind it's less like a brace and more like, okay, to remind me to have good posture and get that hip motioning. Because even if I'm trying, I'll tend to motion a little bit too much for my low back when I'm walking or lifting. Let's go with the shoes
Yes.
that we all have.
No.
Quiet. What are you thinking about?
I'm thinking that you need an AK practitioner in your office then,
That's right.
What's that?
applied kinesiology, laypersons is tough for help. Yes, I know how to do that.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It's very good.
Cool.
Good
Glad
information.
you guys can make it out.
Yes.